for Microsoft, it's not a terribly significant deal financially. $2 billion is roughly going to be about 2% of the cash that they hold, which was about $86 billion at the end of June. So, a lot of that cash sits overseas anyways, about 90%. So they'll probably just end up using that cash to purchase the company. As far as the game maker goes, it's actually probably a pretty significant development. This is a game maker, these guys have kind of prided themselves as being small and independent over the last few years. So this is culturally going to be a pretty big shift for them.
Yeah, Norman, maybe you can help settle the debate of how to pronounce the parent company. Is it Mojang or Mojang? But also, I mean, Minecraft is 90% of its revenues. Now, is this a possible deal, symbolic of Satya Nadella's move towards different platforms and move towards mobile?
Yeah, no, we think that's really kind of the other side of the equation here. Obviously, so Minecraft is pretty important to this deal. 100 million users, the most popular game ever on the PC, and it's sold across different platforms. Obviously, that part of it is pretty important. But again, I think the IP side of this equation is pretty important too. The fact that this is a gaming platform that can be played on Android, on iOS, on PCs, on the different consoles. This is probably the other side of what Microsoft is looking at, because it's a strong signal that they want to send that they're pretty invested in the mobile strategy in Windows Phone and other platforms. So they kind of want to be able to offer different games and different strategies across the different platforms, even if they're not the platform.
Mojang, I'm not, Norman, I'm not a gaming fan, but I just look at the whole spectrum of the gaming industry, and the one thing that sort of I'm concerned about is the shelf life of some of these games, because, I mean, if you take a look at the other experiences or parallels like Candy Crush, and some other makers of like Farmville, a lot of these games don't have the longevity in order to keep those number of users there. Do you think that is at all an issue for Minecraft?
Going forward, it's probably a bit of an issue, but this is a game that's managed to maintain its popularity for at least the last 3 years or so. It originally came out kind of on alpha and beta in 2010 and 2011. It's slowly built a lot of steam, but it's a complex enough game and robust enough that people still remain committed to it. And they've released updates over time, so certainly that's an important part of it. But again, like you said, maybe that's not the entire reason why they're buying this. As far as I'm concerned, the IP side of the equation is also equally important.
And Norman, getting back to our buzz question, I mean, if you take a look at the path of acquisitions from Microsoft and the diversification, none of its strategies seems to have worked for the company from a holistic standpoint. This isn't a big, massive deal by any means, but do you think there'll ever be a point where, they will be able to turn some of this diversification into a winning strategy for the entire company?
No, that's a great question. And when you look at some of their recent acquisitions, it's certainly been tough going. But if you go back to 2000, kind of a very similar acquisition, they bought Bungie. And the reason they bought Bungie was for the Halo game. And the reason they bought the Halo game was to promote the Xbox. And they've actually done a great job. It's one of the best-selling console games of all time. And it's maintained its popularity through different iterations over a decade. So, they've been able to hit a few successes with some of their acquisitions, especially some of the software ones. And I feel like this one's a little different as well. It's a small company. It's already profitable. They may be, depending on where the valuation comes out or the price tag comes out, they may be overpaying. But, if they're smart about it, it's not just the game. It's kind of leveraging the IP that's behind the game.